Christianity and the Bible originated in Ethiopia around the 4th century Common Era. Notice Ethiopia does not follow BC or AD on their calendar. In other words, they don't follow that Egyptian influence Jesus resurrection story. The same story that changes every year, meaning Good Friday changes every year. So that Easter Sunday could line up with a full moon worship, which they used to do in ancient Egypt. Notice that all Bibles are translated out of their original tongues, which was written in the Ethiopian language called Ge'ez. It consists of at least 81 books, some say 88, compared to only 66 in the KJV, translated, edited, Horus in a white Jesus costume, masking as Christianity. Egyptian, European version. Don't forget that Cleopatra had Roman children. Hence, her descendants are Egypt and Rome, along with Greece. Elizabeth is literally the 87th generation of Cleopatra. Hence, she is also an Egyptian, similar to King James. So in the King James Version, which is only 66 books, they were the ones who started the Old and New Testament format, similar to the Kebra Nagus attempt to change time. See, the Kebra Nagus want us to believe that David, Solomon, and Sheba died 3,000 years ago. So the Kebra Nagus was written 1,000 years after the original tongues. Then in the 15th century, the Vatican was first made. Then in the next century, in the 16th century, here comes the King James Version. So they are the ones who started the Old and New Testament format. They were the ones who started calling Jesus Christ and saying that he died 2,000 years ago. Hence the term Christians of ages before never heard of Jesus Christ. So let's read what Haile Selassie said about the Bible. I have the highest respect for the Bible as a whole. We also recognize the rightful name the Bible bears. We find that in all periods of the Old Testament, in the time of patriarchs, kings, and prophets, great miracles were done. On the other hand, the time in which our Lord himself gave the command to go all the world and to preach is also of high value. Then Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the four Gospels in which the sayings of our Lord are recorded, are pillars for all men on the earth. Therefore, the Bible should not be cut into portions. In other words, the Bible should not be in an Old and New Testament format. That was the KJV attempt to change time by having you believe that the present is in the past. You see, once they label a story of Old Testament, it has us to believe that this happened thousands of years ago, when in fact it's happening right now in our faces. Similar to Sodom and Gomorrah. They tell you the story, but they don't tell you exactly where it was. All I know, this is the first time in history that they're literally going to underage children in their classes to teach them gay sex. I don't know when that has happened before in the past. Hence the saying goes, Christians of ages never heard of Jesus Christ. That's another way of saying that it was not an Old and New Testament format. So stories of that you're thinking the past is currently happening right now. Let's read what it says about the Bible. Believe it or not, this book is being played out right before our eyes, and the world doesn't even see it. This is what Haile Selassie has said about the Bibles. All the ancient scriptures were written for our instructions, in order through the encouragement they give us, we may maintain our hope with fortitude. As he said, all the ancient scriptures were written for our instructions. That goes for everyone, even the characters within the Bible. The stories were already written to teach you how, to instruct you how, to correct you. This is what Haile Selassie said about the Bible. We value the Bible above any other. In it we know the events of the past, and we learn those of the future. That's Haile Selassie in 1972. This is Timothy again. All scriptures is breathed, is God breathed, and is useful for instructions. Meaning all scriptures came from God. It was God who spoke the Bible. Only He knows the past, present, and the future. For He alone is Alpha and Omega. His Son can't come back. His begotten Son can't come back. He's the only one that could come back. So let's listen to the King James Version of things.
Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Who were they? The earliest of them that wrote 40 years after Jesus Christ, so they never met him. The last of them wrote 80 years after Jesus Christ, never met him. The other thing is, all of them seem to have written the gospel according to. Now, when you write a letter, do you sign it according to? According to is the third party. Where in the world is a document with only one name of 4 different writers that did not meet the one whom they're writing about? Where is that accepted in the whole world? Nowhere except in the Bible. And the Christian historians, they all agree that perhaps those 4 writers themselves were only pen names, because a writer would not write his first name according to. Because if Jackie wrote me a check and only said Jackie, I couldn't cash it. And if I was a policeman and I stopped Jackie on the road and she had a license that only said Jackie, she's going to jail. And there's a great amount of suspicion that the man called Paul, that because he wrote all the books from Acts all the way to the end of the New Testament, how many books is that? All the books of Acts on, Colossians, Ephesians, Corinthians, Romans, Galatians, all of those books are written by whom? Paul. Now here we find 4 writers and another one between them that wrote all the New Testament books that never talked, never walked, never ate, never prayed, never met the man called Jesus Christ. Isn't that something? Yet the first mentioning of Jesus being divine, a man God, came from whom? From them. The first mentioning that Jesus is the Son of God came from whom? From them. Jesus never said in his own words any such words, but it was the men who never met him, who claimed to have written, who didn't know their last names. And Paul, by the way, before he had that vision on the road to Damascus that only he saw and only he heard, guess what his occupation was? He was a bounty hunter. A hunter of Christians, hunting them down like animals.
In other words, the Bible should not be cut into portions, as Haile Selassie said. It should not be in an Old and New Testament format, because it only creates confusion. But regardless of what they do, even in the 20th century, David will still beat Goliath.